What's up guys, Scott Martin here talking about jigs today. You know, jigs is a way to catch big fish. For some reason, big bass really prefer eating a jig. When I'm looking for that big bite in a tournament, a lot of times I resort to flipping a jig in heavy cover, around stumps and bushes, laydowns or whatever. But there's different kinds of jigs. What kind of jigs are there? There's swimming jigs like we have here, which I'll talk about later on in another tip. We have football jigs that we have here that are totally different. You're going to cast those out. But the kind of jigs I'm talking about now are your flipping jigs like we have here. Just your standard heavy duty flipping jigs. They come in lots of different shapes and sizes. But for the most part, I prefer a jig that has a nice archy style head to it, like you have here, or this one here, nice flat little side to it. The flat side jigs are nice for skipping them up under docks. You know, you think about a jig, you think about heavy cover. Again, shoreline laydowns, flipping them under docks, flipping them in grass, all types of different ways and places to fish a jig. The time of the year to fish a jig, pretty much year round. You know, the winter time's a great time to fish a jig. Sometimes those bass really prefer a bigger, bulkier bait like a jig versus say a soft plastic type crawdad. And in the summertime, I flip a lot of jigs or cast a lot of jigs out deep. And in the springtime, they're absolutely deadly up around the shallow cover where these fish might be staging up to spawn. What makes a really good flipping jig? Number one, you want to find a jig that has, again, a nice archy style head, but a big heavy duty hook. You know, you want a nice heavy duty hook because you're going to be fishing these jigs on bigger rods. You know, you're going to be fishing these rods like here I have behind me my 7.3 jig rod. It's a great heavy action. It's a great one. It's an Akuma TCS rod. Or even going a little bit bigger, like when I'm flipping around heavy cover like here on Okeechobee, these big heavy duty jigs, flipping on a big 7.5 foot to 7.11 big rod, heavy action again. You know, when you're fishing a jig, you want to fish them on your bigger rods and your stiffer actions because you have to drive that hook through that weed guard. You know, that weed guard keeps a jig from getting hung up in the grass too much, and it really keeps it pretty free from getting hung up in the logs and stuff. But again, what I like to do with jigs is I like to flip them into those hard to reach places. I like to flip them up in the middle of that laydown or way up under that dock in that shady part there where nobody's really got to yet. I'll skip that jig way up underneath there and work it on out. Now, how do I work a jig? Real simple. Again, a jig is going to imitate a crawdad. So I'm going to work it along the bottom. I'm going to flip that jig out there, let it go down to the bottom, and basically lift the rod tip up, not moving the bait with the reel, but moving it with the rod, real similar to worm fishing. Move the bait with the rod, okay? Move it with the rod, reel up your slack, and again, move it with the rod, back to the boat. And the great thing about a jig is because it's so weedless, it comes through a lot of that cover, you can kind of fish it through some of those hard to reach places. And it comes out of those snags real well. Now, how do I like to rig up my jig? You know, they come just standard like that with a hook, but you have to do something to them to make them really work really good. You want to put a trailer on the jig. Now right here I've got a bruiser intruder. It's a great little bait. I like to match them up to the color. So with this, let's say I'm fishing a black and blue jig like we have here. I'm going to take that trailer and I'm going to thread that trailer on there. Take it, put it on the hook, push that weed guard down, push that trailer up, run it on up. Look how much bigger it makes that profile. Now that's a nice looking jig there, again, with that nice little trailer. You basically want to match your trailer to the color of the jig. If I'm fishing a dark jig like this, which again in dark water, muddy water, I'm going to fish a black and blue or a dark color. In clean and clear water, real clear water, I'm going to fish your more natural colors like your browns and your greens. And again, if I'm going to match it up, I'm going to match it up with a brown trailer on this one instead of a black and blue trailer. There's some other type trailers too. You've got your chunk style trailers like Zoom makes. It's a nice one. It's got nice little flaps on it. And basically there's two ways to rig that. One way with that flapper style trailer, you can go right through the middle and have it hang down for a larger profile like we have here. Or, which a lot of times I like to do this, I like to thread that trailer on there like I did before. Thread it on there and push it up a little bit. Makes it just a little bit more compact. So that way the skirt is up there, the tentacles of the trailer are hanging out. Really gives that bait a really nice look. Now what kind of line am I going to fish a jig on? A flipping style jig or this type of jig here, I'm fishing on heavier line. Again, 15, 17, 20 pound test fluorocarbon. is my line of choice. And occasionally, like here on Lake Okeechobee or heavy grass lakes, I'm gonna throw straight braid. You know, that's basically what you're gonna do with the jig. You know, I'm gonna flip it in heavy cover, work it around structure pieces, get it in those hard to reach places. If you're looking for a big bite, try a jig, you'll catch a big old fish. Stay tuned, we got some more tips coming up. We're gonna talk about swimming jigs, we're gonna talk about football jigs, and before you leave, make sure to subscribe down below. Thanks for watching, guys. Woo! Game time! Game time, baby! That's gonna get rid of a small one and replace it with a nice monster. Nice, Lake Okeechobee bass.
Dude, that is
Awesome.